Hey guys, this is Tanner Invest here. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Today we're going to talk about diversification and personally my thoughts on diversification. You guys know that in my videos I've talked about how I own 3 different ETHs. I own like 5 different cryptos now. And so I'm a little bit on the side of I don't want to put all my eggs into one basket. But right now, I will say it flat out. I think BMNR is obviously winning this race at the moment. So they have the most ETH. They have the highest premium on their net asset value to allow them to dilute shareholders, to raise more capital, to then invest more into the underlying asset. We've talked about this a ton, but that being said, I want to explain why I'm not just putting all my eggs into BMNR. I have a lot of it, and they are my number one position. But I do get some comments about people saying things like, Tanner, you're an idiot. What are you doing? But that being said, we're going to look at price action from all the big players. BMNR, SBET, BTBT. We're also going to look at an interview from Mike Novogratz on what his thoughts are on diversification. And then at the end of the video, we're going to get into the mNAV update, as well as we're going to talk about a mystery stock. So I'm going to have timestamps hopefully below. If I don't, please remind me. But I'm going to have timestamps below. So thanks so much for watching. Appreciate it. I want to show you guys this stock. So Novo Nordisk, you guys know back in 2017 was the release of Ozempic. Ozempic is like this drug that came out, absolute miracle drug. All of a sudden, you can reduce risk for diabetes, you can lose weight, something that never happened before. And in 2017, you could tell the stock was trading at like 20 bucks. And just look at what happened to the stock. It absolutely tore. Went up 7x within just a few years. And then look what's happened. It's declined. The reason why is because competition, guys. There are companies who found out their recipe for their drug and made it better, made it more effective for their customers. So we see a company like Eli Lilly where they're basically the same story. Back in 2017, look at how fast they were growing. Not as fast because they didn't quite have the recipe, but then boom, when they got the recipe, they have gone up and haven't gone back down yet, like Novo Nordisk has. That being said, I really do want to start looking at NVO because they are cheap as heck right now. But I don't really deal with these kind of stocks. Anyway, let's go ahead and exit out of these two. I want to tell another story. NVIDIA. We all know the story with NVIDIA. They're the #1 GPU player in the world. Jensen Huang is like the godfather of GPUs and AI, in my opinion. Not Dan Ives. I think Jensen Huang is. But you can know, throughout the past year, they're up 62%. Throughout the past 5 years, they're like on a rip of over 1,000%. And you guys know the story here. They actually had a 10-to-1 stock split. This stock was trading in the thousands at one point. And then I want to show another stock, Broadcom. So Broadcom over the past year has actually outperformed NVIDIA. And so Broadcom's a company where I've owned their stock. I don't right now, unfortunately, but I have owned their stock. I am bullish on them as well. And then there are other AI plays as well. Like you guys know, if you watched my video a couple months ago, I spent $70,000 in the market. I actually bought a company called ASML because I felt like it was super undervalued. And let's look at that. Throughout the past month, ASML is up 40%. I bought back here a month ago about 730 bucks. So you can go watch that video. I actually am up significantly on that position now. And the reason why is because there can be multiple winners in a space. And if one feels like it's very much undervalued, aka I think right now, in my opinion, Bit Digital, this is not financial advice, Bit Digital feels to me like the ASML of AI, where it was just getting beat down for no reason, very successful. There have been times where, in the AI space, I don't know if you guys are big into AI like I am, but there's a company called Micron where, let's look 3 months ago, they're up 52%. Over the past year, you can see their stock was getting beat down. While all these other companies throughout 2025 was going up, they were going down. And then look what's happened year to date. They're up 115%. So there could be multiple winners. Sometimes they go on their own timelines. I could see Micron being similar to like Sharplink Gaming, because Sharplink Gaming's just been flat or just like not trading so well. But what happens when Consensus or Linea or Joseph Lubin have some sort of big announcement with coming out with something that's going to help the network for Ethereum? And I think that could potentially, very much excel SBET stock. And they're trading right at mNAV right now. So this is my thought process. It's not that I think one's better than the other. It's just I want multiple narratives and I want to have my eggs in multiple baskets. I don't think that's a bad thing. So let's exit out of these. Now, this is the closest story I can think of of a story between Ethereum and Solana. Because right now, I do think Ethereum is in the lead. Tom Lee out there has said that institutions are choosing Ethereum. And we've seen that. I actually have something toward the end of the video I want to get into about the Swift network and its recent kind of bet on Ethereum. We're going to get into that in a minute. But here, MasterCard and Visa are good examples of two companies in payment processing. Keep in mind, that's exactly what Ethereum and Solana are doing. We're going to be competing in this space where over the past, max their history, they've just crushed it. I mean, if you bought this stock back in 2010, January 2010, it was $24.99. Let's look at Visa back in January of 2010. Go here, January of 2010, $20.51. So they were both around $20 a share. 10 years later, $345 and $577. Now, the reason why I say this is because MasterCard, believe it or not, is actually a less market cap than Visa. Visa's like the winner. They're the number one. MasterCard's the number two. But the stock performance of MasterCard over the same period since 2010 has actually outperformed Visa. So there's a lot of ways where there can be multiple winners in different ways, different percentages. And so a lot of people in the comments, I'm actually going to show this comment here, diversifying is idiotic. These people would not put tens of billions into ETH without reason. Solana may be okay, but I would not go any further than that. Well, what about XRP? What about Hyperliquid? Hyperliquid's popping off and they have great technology. What about, there's a few others out there that I don't want to get into so many because I don't want to give out. I'm going to tell you what I'm investing in, and these are the ones I'm investing in. Right now, I have, for my cryptocurrency investments, I have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, and Hyperliquid. Those are the ones I'm currently invested in. In the past, I have had Chainlink. Chainlink, I think, is something good, but in my opinion, I mean, right now, I'm not looking to get Chainlink. I could be wrong, though. Now, Ethereum. This week, I just want to get into price action this week. We are up 15%. We are finally, look at this. We were down $3,800. All the FUD. I kept buying BMNR. I kept buying, this is when I bought Bit Digital. And look where we are now. We've had a pump of 15%. Solana's up 16%. And XRP's up 10% the past week. So I'm loving that, guys. I just wanted to show those price actions real quick. With our tickers here, we have Sharplink Gaming up 11% this week. We have Bitmine up 13%. We have Bit Digital up 17.87%. So we're all performing well there as well. Now, I wanted to show this quick little picture right here. So from these companies, we have Tom Lee, we have Sam Tabar, and we have Joseph Lubin. They were all just at Token 2049, a conference where all three of these guys were on stage. And so I want you guys to remember this. Like, we're all friends here. Ethereum wins. We all win. We're all, we don't have to fight in the comments about what's better because I'm invested in all of them, and I don't really care what's better, to be honest. I'm going to make money no matter what, if any of them go up. So I did also just want to show this interview I talked about with Mike Novogratz. I think this guy is super smart, and he has a different perspective than a lot of people. He's actually very pro Solana, and he does also agree that Ethereum can win as well. But let's hear his thoughts.
That's fair. It's very fair. I want to get your quick thoughts on Ethereum. So I think you've seen a rise of ETH treasury companies. One of them led by, I think, a friend of yours as well, Tom Lee, who has kind of capitalized the interest of retail investors in this asset class. The Genius Act, very friendly to stablecoins. ETH has now the highest percentage of stablecoins, about 62% of the 300 billion market cap for stablecoins are on ETH. Very simply put, are you bullish on Ethereum?
Yeah. Listen, we did a Solana DAT, but we're also big owners of ETH. And I think, again, these are two powerful communities. No one's going to know who wins this race for 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
And there's not going to only be one winner. Someone's going to get first place. Someone's going to get third place. But the overall pie is going to grow so big. Listen, ETH is the OG smart contract blockchain, right? It's the OG blockchain that wanted to be the base level of trust. The most people are building on it. They have the most L2s. There's a grand debate. Solana's an L1 that's fast as heck and really is tailor-made to be the blockchain for capital markets. Are we going to go with that, or are we going to have some of that just on L2s? If anyone says they're smart enough to know, they're wrong. And so I have a diversified portfolio. I also own a lot of Hyperliquid. Those guys are studs. They've built the fastest growing. The only token in the top 10 that wasn't there a few years ago is Hyperliquid.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, guys. So I didn't want to play that for too long, but I want to leave that video link for Amit. First, shout out to Amit. Amit is like the best. He is the dream job for me personally. Like being able to just get on a live stream every day, talk about stocks, and interview CEOs like Mike Novogratz, Vlad Tenev from Robinhood, and many, many others. I mean, whew, that's amazing. So shout out to him. But Mike Novogratz couldn't have said it any better. He said, he said no one is smart enough to know what's going to happen, and that for that reason he has a diversified portfolio. Like, he couldn't have said it any better. That's exactly the way I think. And so I'm going to keep it that way, guys. If I end up being wrong, BMNR shoots to $150 and SBET's still trading at 20, then you know what? You can tell me in the comments I'm an idiot, okay? But I don't think that's going to happen. I think there will be multiple winners here. So, let's see. Let's wait and see. But yeah, let's go and exit out of that. Let's go to the next one. I did want to get into the mNAV update. We look at this basically every single video. Shout out to Risk on Bobby if you want to follow him on X. Right now, you can see the mNAVs are still roughly the same in our last video, except we do see BTBT being traded at 0.43x. They did have a dilution event where they had convertible notes of $100 million, I believe, convertible notes, which is basically debt that they're going to be paying back through a coupon rate and then being able to basically dilute at a future date. So not bad at all. We have a 0.43. I think that's pretty dang undervalued right now. What happens where, you see ETHZilla before the rumor that BMNR was going to purchase them, which still could happen. I think it might still happen. They were trading significantly under NAV. Now with just that rumor, they popped up to NAV. So what happens if, Sam is sitting here in this photo next to Tom Lee and Joseph Lubin? What if one of these guys pulled him aside and said, hey, dude, I know you got this white fiber thing going on. I know you're kind of a man of many hats. What if we took your ETH DAT off your hands? That could have definitely happened. That conversation, I'm sure, at some point has happened or will happen because these companies, in my opinion, over time, they will consolidate. And BTBT seems like one that is a very good potential for like BMNR, for example, because white fiber could be like a moonshot investment for BMNR as well. I mean, you think of that? I sure have. So very exciting stuff, guys. I'm getting really bullish. I'm still very, very bullish on everything we've talked about in all these videos. So I want to get into more of the fundamental side of things now, guys. So appreciate you guys sticking around. This part of the video, we're going to talk about the Swift network. So Swift came out with this amazing article. This was actually released after the news kind of came out. But Swift is going to be adding blockchain-based layer to its infrastructure stack in a groundbreaking move to accelerate and scale benefits of digital finance across more than 200 countries and territories worldwide. So down here, Swift will work with Consensus on a conceptual prototype of the ledger, which will leverage Swift's unmatched resiliency, security, and scalability to facilitate transactions using any form of regulated tokenized value. So guys, I want to explain real quick what Swift network is. So when money in the world is being moved, all it is banks basically lowering and debiting or crediting from their ledger right now. So money isn't actually we're not actually sending a load of cash across the ocean or through an airplane, it's all being transferred through wires, which nowadays is a lot of them is used through the Swift network. So Swift is just a communication. Think of them as just literally telling one bank, hey, this bank needs you to debit $100, and this bank, hey, you need to credit $100. And so if I have a bank and you have a bank and I want to send you $100, likely our two banks are within the Swift network. So our banks both have a Swift ID. And whenever I want to send $100 to you, my bank tells Swift that, hey, Tanner wants to send $100. And then my bank tells your bank that, hey, Tanner wants to send $100. So you're going to be receiving $100. So that's what the Swift network is today. They work with over 11,500 financial institutions across the world. And they help this, and they do this so often. So if there is a bank that's not within the Swift network, it's actually pretty interesting because what they do is they take one bank and then they basically use a middleman. So say your bank is not in the Swift network, but mine is. They'll actually use a middleman that has the Swift network to then take the money and transfer it to you. So it's really interesting the way it works. And so this is huge because so many banks use this. This is actually a groundbreaking move because they're choosing Ethereum to start this pilot on. And they're using Consensus, which we all know is Joseph Lubin's company. He's also the chairman of SharpLink Gaming. Likely they will be using some sort of maybe their wallet features, but I'm also thinking maybe Linea to help with this ledger, which is insane. So I can't wait to hear more about this, but I did tweet in this post here kind of more of a breakdown. If you guys are interested, you can always follow me on X and try to break down the news. A lot of people are like, well, how is this going to affect SBET stock? I don't think it's really going to affect SBET stock directly. I think this is more news that's pro Ethereum than it is pro SBET. But since SBET is more correlated with Consensus, they're literally in a consortium role with Consensus and Linea. I think that it would more positively affect SBET than it would other ETH DATs, if that makes sense. But I do think this is just very, very pro crypto news. So I wanted to explain that real quick. I think that's amazing. I know I'm a little late on the news. It's been a few days, but I do work a full-time job, guys. So I would appreciate, I know some people are like always wanting me to pump out videos. I wish I could do this full-time, guys. And maybe one day I can be like Amit, right? That would be awesome. So now, this is the mystery stock. I know we talked about real quick this mystery stock. So I'm just going to do this real brief. So there's a company, ticker symbol JDC. This company out of nowhere threw up an SEC government documentation and about acquiring Palace Capital assets. So they enter into a share exchange agreement, including their assets, including 7,500 Bitcoin for 39 million shares. So when you do the math, I think let's just say, for example, the shares were at a $7 price at this moment. I think it was around $7. So we can do the math here and multiply this by 7. This is the amount that they paid in share value for 7,500 Bitcoin. And I think the Bitcoin at this time was in a little bit of a dip. I think it was like 115,000, let's just say. So 7,500 Bitcoin times 115,000. 862 million. So you just saw the other number was like 262 million. This is 862 million. So they paid, it looks to me like very much under price of what the Bitcoin on their balance sheet's worth. So it doesn't really make sense to me. The only thing that does make sense to me is like, what if, Palace Capital has like a lot of debt, or like maybe they have a lot of debt because they use debt to acquire this Bitcoin. I don't know, but it is very interesting because over the past week after this news got announced, you'd think it kind of would pump the stock a bit, but then they announced this, which we all know. They increased the authorized shares of common stock from 200 million shares to 10 billion shares. So this screamed to, the algos and all the people out there that they're going to be diluting the heck out of the stock. But we all know, since you and I and everybody I'm sure watching this video is very heavily invested in digital asset treasury companies. So what do digital asset treasury companies do? They have to get approval to increase the amount of authorized shares of common stock so that when their stock maybe eventually is above mNAV, they then would be able to authorize shares, dilute shareholders to raise capital, and then buy more of the underlying asset. But this is very odd to me because their stock from this event, it went up a lot, as you see, and then it just dropped. And so I was taking a look at this. I'm like, this just isn't making sense. The amount of Bitcoin that they have would make this stock alone, like I think $22. Don't quote me on that, but around $22 worth. Because right now you can see their market cap, they're trading very low, and you can't always trust market cap metrics on Robinhood always. But I would look into a few sources. But I'm just curious your guys' thoughts. I haven't seen, obviously I need to see the balance sheet of Palace Capital for this to completely make sense. But to me, with 7,500 Bitcoin, and this company we know the amount of shares they have outstanding, and this stock is still trading extremely, extremely low, and it's very heavily shorted. That's why you see today alone, the stock's up 31%. So very, very interesting. Just wanted to throw that out there. I'm not giving financial advice. Actually, I would say, if you're not someone that's interested in volatility, I'd be very careful, because you can see over the past month, this stock has been as high as $9.39 and as low as like $4. And so it just was $4 like a week ago. And now it's up to like $7 after gaining 31% in a single day. So very highly volatile. I just love digital asset treasury companies. You guys know this. I try to post this like this. I posted on September 16th. And then today I posted like, yes, I did buy some of this and I did make some money. So feeling pretty good about that. So that's it for today, guys. Appreciate you guys watching. Please feel free to give me a subscribe if you're interested as well in these digital asset treasury companies. I look forward to making more videos. Going to be making a lot more on BMNR, SBET, BTBT, maybe, who knows, GDC. We'll see. Thank you guys. Have a good one.